The tow truck arrived at 5:17 a.m. The sun hadn't even risen yet. Heavy fog covered the dirt road, leading to my property as bright headlights cut through the darkness. Half asleep, I looked out my bedroom window and felt my stomach drop. A massive towing truck sat beside my solar-powered house. Behind it stood 6 men wearing reflective jackets. And at the center of them all was a woman holding a clipboard. She was smiling. Not the friendly kind of smile. The kind people wear when they think they've already won. My heart pounded, because my house wasn't just a house. It was everything I owned, every dollar I'd saved, every dream I'd built. And somehow these strangers were preparing to take it away. What shocked me most wasn't the tow truck. It wasn't the men. It wasn't even the woman. It was the fact that 24 hours earlier, I had never heard a single word about any violation. Yet now, they were acting like they already owned my property. I had no idea that this moment would expose a conspiracy involving a powerful HOA, a greedy developer, forged documents, and a secret plan to steal the most valuable piece of land in Cedar Creek. And I was standing directly in their way. 3 weeks earlier, life had been simple. My name is Nolan Pierce. At 34 years old, I lived in a custom-built solar-powered tiny house on wheels that sat on 5 peaceful acres outside Cedar Creek. Most people thought I was crazy. No mortgage, no utility bills, no landlord, no debt, just freedom. My home was powered entirely by solar energy. 12 panels covered the roof, while battery systems stored enough electricity to run everything day and night. The house wasn't large, but it was mine. Every screw, every board, every wire. I built it with my own hands. Most mornings started the same way. Coffee, fresh air, silence. And that was exactly how the trouble began. The morning sun had just risen when I heard a vehicle approaching. A black SUV. Expensive. Official-looking. I watched it pull into my driveway. A woman stepped out. She wore a navy blue business suit and carried a thick clipboard. Her posture screamed authority. Her expression screamed trouble. She marched directly toward me. "Mr. Pierce?" "Yes. My name is Veronica Steele. I'm the president of the Cedar Creek HOA. I frowned. "Okay." She glanced toward my house, then back at me. "We need to discuss your illegal residence." For a second, I thought she was joking. Then I realized she wasn't smiling. "What illegal residence?" She pointed toward my home. "That one." I laughed. "My house." "Correct. What's illegal about it?" "It violates multiple HOA regulations." The statement made no sense. I wasn't even sure my property belonged to the HOA. "Can you explain?" Veronica opened her clipboard. "The structure is mobile. It's parked. It has wheels. So, it doesn't meet community standards." I folded my arms. "My land isn't part of the neighborhood." "According to our records, it is." Something about her tone irritated me immediately. She wasn't discussing. She was declaring, as if her opinion was already law. Then she handed me a document. I looked down. Violation notice. My eyes moved to the bottom, then widened. $5,000. I looked again. Surely I had read it wrong. I hadn't. $5,000? Payable within 10 days. For what? Unauthorized residential occupancy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You fine me $5,000 because my house has wheels. There are several violations. This is insane. Veronica's expression remained cold. Failure to comply may result in enforcement action. I stared at her. What kind of enforcement action? For the first time, she smiled. A slow smile. A dangerous smile. "The structure may be removed." The words hit me like a truck. Remove? Towed. I felt my pulse spike. "You want to tow my house?" "If necessary." "You can't do that." "We can." "No, we absolutely can." The confidence in her voice was unsettling, as though she'd already done this before, as though she expected me to surrender. Instead, I asked a simple question. "Who complained?" Her smile vanished. "I'm not required to answer that." Then she turned around and walked back to her SUV. Within seconds, she was gone, leaving me standing there holding a $5,000 fine. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake. But deep down, a strange feeling told me otherwise. Something wasn't right. That evening, I started researching. Property maps, county records, HOA boundaries, everything. Hours passed. Then I found something impossible. According to county records, my property wasn't inside the HOA at all. Not even close. I stared at the screen, then checked again. Same answer. The HOA had absolutely no authority over my land, which raised an even bigger question. If they knew, they couldn't legally fine me. Why had they done it anyway? I was still thinking about that question later that night when my dog, Ranger, suddenly started barking. Loudly, aggressively. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The property was dark, silent. Then I saw movement. 2 figures standing beside my house. One held a camera. The other appeared to be taking measurements. The moment my flashlight beam hit them, they ran. A pickup truck engine roared to life. Tires spun. Dust filled the air. Within seconds, they disappeared into the darkness. Confused, I walked over to where they'd been standing. Something lay on the ground. A folded piece of paper. I picked it up, opened it, and felt every hair on my neck stand up. It was a towing authorization form, prepared for my house, signed 3 days earlier. 3 days before the HOA had even issued the fine. The tow operation had already been planned, which meant the violation notice was never about rules, never about regulations, never about community standards. Someone wanted my land, and they were willing to do anything to get it, even if it meant stealing my home. The towing authorization form sat on my kitchen table all night. I couldn't stop staring at it. The date alone proved something was wrong. The document had been prepared 3 days before Veronica Steele ever visited my property. 3 days before the $5,000 fine. 3 days before the HOA claimed I was violating their rules. That meant only one thing. The decision to take my home had already been made. The fine was just an excuse. And if that was true, then the real question wasn't why they wanted to tow my house. The real question was why they wanted my land. I barely slept. By sunrise, I was already driving toward the Cedar Creek County Records office. If someone was targeting my property, I needed answers. Fast. The county building was quiet when I arrived. Inside, I met a records specialist named Garrett Monroe, a gray-haired man who had worked there for nearly 20 years. After hearing my story, he agreed to help. For 2 hours, we searched through property records, zoning maps, and development plans. Then Garrett suddenly froze. His eyes narrowed. "What is it?" I asked. He slowly turned his monitor toward me. "You should look at this." My stomach tightened. Displayed on the screen was a massive development proposal. Hundreds of homes, luxury stores, restaurants, a private recreation center. The project covered nearly every acre surrounding my property, except one. Mine. I leaned closer. "What am I looking at?" Garrett sighed. "The future of Cedar Creek." Then he pointed directly at the center of the map. "My land. The exact location where my solar-powered house sat. What happens if they don't get my property?" Garrett zoomed in. "The entire project fails." I stared at the screen. The main access road, the utilities, the commercial entrance. Everything depended on my land. Without it, the development couldn't move forward. Suddenly, everything made sense. The HOA wasn't targeting me because of my house. They were targeting me because I was standing in the way of millions of dollars. And someone was getting desperate. Before leaving, Garrett handed me copies of several documents. One of them nearly made my jaw hit the floor. A purchase history. Over the last 2 years, dozens of neighboring properties had quietly been sold to one company, Steel Horizon Development. The owner's name appeared at the bottom. Damian Steele, Veronica Steele's brother. Now I understood. This wasn't an HOA issue. It was a land grab, and I had become the final obstacle. That afternoon, another black vehicle appeared in my driveway. This time it wasn't Veronica. A tall man stepped out wearing an expensive suit and sunglasses. He looked more like a corporate executive than a developer. "Mr. Pierce?" I nodded. "I'm Damian Steele." There it was, the name I'd just seen in county records. He smiled. "I believe we have something important to discuss." "I'm listening." Damian looked around the property. His eyes lingered on my solar-powered home. Then he spoke. "I'd like to buy your land." I laughed. "So that's what this is about. Name your price." "It's not for sale." His smile faded slightly. "Everyone has a price. Not me. I can offer $400,000. My eyebrows rose. The land wasn't worth half that amount, which told me exactly how badly he needed it. "No. $500,000. No. His expression hardened. You should think carefully. I already have. Damien stepped closer. For the first time, the friendly act disappeared. You're making a mistake. I folded my arms. No, you're making one. The silence between us felt heavy. Then he spoke again. Things can become very difficult. There it was. The threat, hidden behind polite words. I smiled. Was that supposed to scare me? Damien didn't answer. Instead, he climbed back into his vehicle. Before driving away, he lowered his window. You won't win this. Then he disappeared down the road. But I wasn't scared. Not yet. Because I still thought I was dealing with ordinary corruption. I had no idea how far they were willing to go. 3 nights later, I found out. At exactly 1:42 a.m., Ranger started barking. Violently. I jumped out of bed. The security cameras on my phone were flashing alerts. Motion detected. Multiple locations. My heart pounded. I opened the camera feed. 3 masked figures were moving around my property. One stood near my solar battery system. Another was behind my house. The third was heading toward my truck. What the hell? I rushed outside with a flashlight. The moment the beam hit them, the figures scattered. One climbed into a pickup truck. Another disappeared into the trees. The third nearly tripped while running. Within seconds, they were gone. I immediately inspected the property. My blood ran cold. Several wires connected to my solar array had been cut. The battery compartment had been opened. Someone had tried to disable my power system. Someone had wanted my house vulnerable. And then I found something else. A pair of bolt cutters, left behind in the grass. I photographed everything. Every footprint. Every damaged cable. Every piece of evidence. Because now this wasn't harassment. It was sabotage. The following morning, I filed a police report. Deputy Ethan Cole arrived shortly afterward. Unlike most local officers, Ethan had a reputation for being honest. After reviewing the evidence, he looked concerned. This isn't random vandalism. I know. Someone specifically targeted your power system. Exactly. Ethan nodded. Then he noticed one of the tire tracks. His expression changed. What? I've seen this tread pattern before. My stomach tightened. Where? The deputy looked at me carefully. A towing company used by the HOA. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. The pieces were starting to fit together, and the picture they created wasn't pretty. Someone connected to the HOA had been on my property in the middle of the night. Someone connected to the HOA had attempted to damage my home. And someone connected to the HOA desperately wanted me gone. As Ethan prepared to leave, he handed me his card. If anything unusual happens, call me immediately. I nodded. Thanks. But deep down, I already knew something else would happen. Because people willing to forge fines, fabricate violations, and sabotage property don't simply walk away. They escalate. And that's exactly what happened. Later that evening, as the sun disappeared below the horizon, a large white envelope appeared in my mailbox. No return address. No postage. Someone had delivered it by hand. I opened it. Inside was a single photograph. My house, taken from a distance. At night. On the back was a handwritten message. 6 chilling words. Last chance. Sell before it's gone. I stared at the note. My pulse quickened. This wasn't about money anymore. This wasn't even about land anymore. This had become personal. And somewhere out there, the people behind this plan were preparing their next move. What I didn't know was that the biggest attack was still coming, and it would arrive before sunrise. The attack came at 5:11 a.m. I woke to the sound of heavy engines. For a split second, I thought I was dreaming. Then Ranger started barking. Furiously, I grabbed my phone and rushed to the window. My blood froze. 2 tow trucks were parked outside my property. Several workers stood around my solar-powered house, and standing beside them, holding a clipboard and wearing a confident smile, was Veronica Steele. They had come from my home. I immediately ran outside. What are you doing? Veronica didn't even look surprised. As stated previously, this structure is being removed. You have no authority here. We disagree. I pointed toward the property line. My land isn't part of the HOA. That issue has already been reviewed. No, it hasn't. One of the workers began attaching chains to my house. Anger exploded inside me. Stop. The worker hesitated. Veronica stepped forward. Proceed. At that moment, I pulled out my phone. Everything happening here is being recorded. For the first time, several workers looked nervous. But Veronica remained calm, almost too calm, as if she believed she was untouchable. Then another vehicle appeared, a sheriff's SUV. Deputy Ethan Cole stepped out. Behind him came two additional patrol vehicles. Veronica's confidence instantly faded. Ethan approached slowly. "Morning, everyone." Nobody answered. The deputy looked directly at Veronica. "We received reports regarding an unauthorized towing operation." "This is HOA enforcement," Veronica replied. Ethan extended his hand. "Show me the legal authorization." Veronica handed over a document. The deputy studied it carefully. Then his expression changed. The same expression I'd seen before. The document was fake. Again, Ethan folded the paperwork. "This authorization is fraudulent." Silence. The workers exchanged worried looks. One of the tow truck drivers took a step backward. Veronica's face turned pale. "There must be some mistake." "There isn't." Ethan held up the paper. "This county seal is counterfeit." My heart pounded. The workers immediately started disconnecting the chains. One by one, they backed away. Nobody wanted to be part of what was happening. Then Ethan delivered the sentence that changed everything. "Nobody is towing this house today." The entire operation collapsed. Within minutes, both tow truck drivers were trying to leave. But they never got the chance. Another sheriff's vehicle arrived. Then another, and another. Something much bigger was happening. Something Veronica clearly hadn't expected. Later that afternoon, I learned the truth. The police investigation into the sabotage of my solar system had uncovered far more than anyone imagined. The bolt cutters left behind by the intruders contained fingerprints. Those fingerprints belonged to an employee of a contractor working directly for Steel Horizon Development. Once investigators started digging, the entire scheme began falling apart. Phone records, emails, financial transfers, internal documents. Everything pointed toward the same people. Veronica Steele, Damian Steele, and several associates within the HOA. The evidence was overwhelming. The HOA hadn't simply targeted me. They had targeted multiple property owners over several years. Residents had been pressured into selling. Others had received questionable fines. Some had been threatened with lawsuits. Many had simply given up. And every property eventually ended up connected to Steel Horizon Development. It was a carefully organized operation, one designed to force people off valuable land. But this time they had picked the wrong target, because this time someone fought back. 3 weeks later, the county courthouse was packed. News reporters filled the hallways. Residents crowded every available seat. The story had spread throughout the region. People wanted answers, and they were about to get them. I sat quietly as the hearing began. Across the room sat Veronica and Damian Steele. Neither looked confident anymore. The arrogance was gone. The smiles were gone. Only worry remained. County attorneys presented evidence for nearly 3 hours. Property records, forged documents, witness testimony, security footage, everything. One by one, the pieces connected. The picture became impossible to deny. Then came the most shocking evidence of all, an internal email sent by Damian Steele months earlier. The courtroom became silent as the message was displayed. The email outlined a strategy to pressure landowners through HOA enforcement actions. It specifically mentioned my property, and it included one chilling sentence. "If he won't sell voluntarily, we'll make ownership impossible." Gasps filled the courtroom. Even a judge looked stunned. The case was over. Everyone knew it. The Steeles had been caught. By sunset, the ruling was announced. The HOA's fines against me were declared invalid. Every violation notice was dismissed. The attempted towing operation was ruled unlawful. A criminal investigation was authorized regarding forged county documents. Steel Horizon Development lost several permits connected to the project, and the HOA board faced immediate review by county authorities. The courtroom erupted with applause. People who had spent years feeling powerless finally witnessed accountability. For once, the system worked. For once, the bullies lost. 2 months later, Cedar Creek looked very different. Several HOA board members resigned. Others were removed. Veronica Steele faced multiple legal charges connected to fraudulent documents. Damian Steele became the subject of a larger state investigation. Steele Horizon Development's project was suspended indefinitely. And the luxury shopping district they had planned? It never happened. Without my property, the entire project collapsed, exactly as Garrett had predicted. One peaceful evening, I sat outside my solar-powered house watching the sunset. The same sunset I had almost lost forever. The solar panels reflected golden light across the roof. Ranger rested beside my chair. For the first time in months, everything was quiet. No threats, no tow trucks, no surprise visits, just peace. My phone buzzed. A message from Garrett. It contained a newspaper headline. Local homeowner exposes HOA land grab scheme. I smiled, then set the phone aside. The fight had been exhausting, but had been worth it. Because some things are more valuable than money, more valuable than development projects, more valuable than power, freedom, home, and the right to stand your ground when someone tries to take both away. As darkness settled over Cedar Creek, I looked at the house I had built with my own hands. The house they tried to steal. The house they failed to move even an inch. And for the first time since the nightmare began, I knew one thing for certain. The war was over, and home had won.
Subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for new updates.